Mashuch means he stretches the skin to look like he's not gemalt. Sarach sheyimo midrabanan, so he has to cut off that piece midrabanan. For us, Yerlechu b'tshuma b'divrei sofrim. In other words, he's not an oral, but since he was Moshech and he looks like an oral, he looks like he covered up his milah, so therefore it's a derabanan, and he's like an oral derabanan. So he has to mal and midrabanan and can't eat shuma.
The difference in using midrabanan and midivrei sofrim is not between the like that.
I don't think so. No. The nearer the kan vadai osa Pesach. So what about the Korban Pesach? He says because in Torah he's not an oral, right? So he says he's also Pesach. The lo hamidu divrayim b'makov karas. Because there's only a few cases where the Rabbanan will stop you from doing something like Pesach, which is a karas. But usually we say that if it's a question of something which is karas, so the Rabbanan, you overlook the Rabbanan. So that's what he's saying, that l'chora, this Rabbanan, lo hamidu divrayim b'makov karas. I am Safim Tzadik Beis and Aleph. There are certain cases where we say oral, hazah, and izemel were cases of hamidu divrayim, right? The harbe divrei sofrim, but a lot of divrei sofrim. Those are three cases.
Right.
But harbe divrei sofrim, chashasham, the lo hamidu divrayim. But other divrei sofrim, we say lo hamidu, karas comes first. For oral, what's the case which says oral is one of the three examples where it was hamidu divrayim? Before sham dahainu goy she goy shemal, if the goy performed the milah, which I guess the Gemara over there is holding that in Torah his milah is good, but the Rabbanan said midrabanan you have to do, I think, a tapas bris, and that stops you from bringing the Korban Pesach. Ein Ramam Perek Vav Mikram. Let's see what the case is. I'm just guessing. Ein Ramam Perek Vav Mikram Pesach Halacha Vav Zayin. The Nasan Tam was that Lama Hamidim Divrayim. The Ram says the reason why in that case they said stops from the Korban Pesach. He doesn't say what the reason is here. I have a note. Do you have in yours? If they bring it here, it says. Here he doesn't give the reason for oral, he gives the reason for hazah. I guess he means the same reason over there, because the Rambam says here that the Rabbanan came before the mitzvah. So you have to look at the other cases, I don't know. Im kain kan kiven avi rak Rabbanan, since Moshe is only the Rabbanan. Lo shayach hatama now, whatever the reason of the Rambam is, we don't know, but he says it's not shayach here. B'vali lo hamidu divrayim b'makom karas, u'makriv ha'pesach v'ochel. Kain near l'chayani is like the Pashut. And on the bottom it says the Rabbi Moshe says the same thing, and the Rabbi Hochman says the same thing. Right? He says on the bottom that there's a pre-yitzvot that says it's a machlok which is showing in this cloud when it's hamidu divrayim and when it's not hamidu divrayim. So it depends. But he doesn't say what the machlok is showing is. Okay, so we'll go back there.
So he's being medayek. It's that's what I call truma. So the Rambam says just by truma, it doesn't say by
Pesach.
Yeah, but then they're saying that the oral here is goy shemal.
We're talking about Mashuch. He's saying the Gemara that says hamidu divrayim in the case of oral. It's the case of goy shemal, but it doesn't say what my mind doesn't say what the reason is.
So there's a shita in Chazal that if a goy does milah, it counts, like it's talking about milah on a Jew.
think if a goy does mila, you have to do hatafas tam bris, but you're not an oral.
But that's drabanan, or that's... I know that
See, if we were in the other room, I would look up the psakim to make sure, but we don't have the Gemaras here. What Gemara is that? Is that a psakim? Or no, it's above mitzvah.
Yeah. Because I know that by Mila there's a whole issue. One of the arguments is you have to be a ben bris to do Mila. Right?
Yeah, but here the question is not if you don't do the Mila or not. Here the question is if he's an oral or not. He doesn't have an orla. Right? So, but I have to look up. So let's go to the next paragraph. Maybe we'll go back. The nolad mahul. If a baby was born gemalt, the nimshach orla. So, and then there was nimshach the orla. Ayin to Rizav Yoredeya Hilchos Mila Simon Reish Sam Delsiv Tat and Tes. This topic that in such a case of a mashuch, that after tzarach lamu min ha Torah. Because he's mechalik, if you did a mila and then you're a mashuch, right? That's to the rabbanan. But in case you didn't do a mila and it was nemshach halah, even though you're born gemalt, it was nemshach halah. So he says could be since the mila was no mila was ever done, could be then a mashuch as a deraisa. V'ayin mashuch asav nesham be'ez Hashem yisbarach v'shach gam lakan. That says what he writes in mitzvah reish pei beis. V'gam Rambam sham hilchos shumas halach yidal sover the nolad mahul is ochel b'truma. So that we spoke out is a problem because l'chora nolad mahul is a sofek orla, either is a sofek orla kavusha, right? So why should he? And if it's an orla kavusha, he should be an oral. Right? That was the problem with the Rambam. What happened? Kivin the Rambam Atzla pasuk parakav mila halacha zayin the nolad mahul sarach lahatim menu dabris. And the reason for that is imkin have a sofek orla kavusha. So why should it be allowed to eat truma? So I told you that the Mishkas Yaakov says the Rambam doesn't hold to the sofek orla kavusha business, and he holds us we darsh from a pasuk and he tavas dam bris. But that doesn't make. But you're certainly not an oral, and he doesn't hold of this idea of sofek orla kavusha, which the Gemara actually says.
Right.
She says on the bottom, in my sefer it says that there's a sefer called Minchas Solos, which I own. It's on the Minchas Chinuch. That brings the Ramban and the Mohammed that says that even if you have to mal because of orla kavusha, ain't tzarech kral lo osro b'achilas Pesach. For sure you're osro in achilas Pesach. V'zeh k'sfaras Rabbeinu that you see orla kavusha makes you osro in achilas Pesach. Right? But I'm telling you, but there's I'm just trying to see if he brings it. Oh, he brings not someone else. He says that he brings here. He does bring. He says Mishkas Yaakov, and there's a chidushi a grachal shas. That according to the Rambam, hatavas dam bris by nolad mo is not because of orla kavusha. Not the way the Minchas Chinuch, but it's a Gemara, so they have to work out different shittas in the Gemara. But I know that's the Mishkas Yaakov, but he says it's also a Reb Chaim in a stencil. And therefore, the whole concept that how could he be kosher to eat truma? He's an oral. He's only an oral if you're worried about orla kavusha. But if you're not worried about orla kavusha, even though there's a din of a tavas dam bris, but that doesn't make you an oral. It's a new mitzvah of a tavas dam bris. V'gam nechtacha orlaso, and even if the orla was cut, was nechtacha, in other words, we're not in the kosher way of doing milah, but tzarech tavas dam bris. Osha nimol kol zmanim below atavas bris before the 8th day, where the milah wasn't kosher. Ma dinim la'inyan truma. What's their din according to the truma? Because in those cases you don't have a question of orla kavusha. You just don't have that's the case I was telling you. You have a milah. I mean, you don't have a kosher milah, but you don't have orla So if the whole psul is an oral can't eat truma, he's not in oral, even though there was no mitzvah mila done. He says, but who adin can, so the same thing would be over here, that even if you're not, it could be that you're not an oral, and still, even though there's still a mitzvah for tapas dan bris, but as long as you're not an oral, you're still going to be okay. He says, look what he says in Reish Pei Beis, and
so oral is defined simply by the physical
having orla.
Having orla.
This whole concept, what the Gemara says, orla kedusha, is a very difficult concept. Where do they get this business of an orla kedusha? And if there is such a thing as a mitzvah orla kedusha, what does hatavas dam bris do? You take out a piece, you take out some dam. How does that remove an orla kedusha? The whole idea is a very, it's a Gemara. He says,
doesn't do I one son at Tavas Dam Bris, and I'm telling you, like it's really nothing. It's like really a scratch.
It's a scratch. You just take out some
blood. It's like.
So how does that remove an orla kedusha? And what is the orla kedusha? One of the more says it's a body orla kedusha or a suffix orla kedusha. So he brings on the bottom. I remember such lashonos and rishonim. He says the Miri says that Laman Damer Shechiyav Mila by Noah Molav Mishum Orla Kedusha. Sarach Lamulo, so it's not enough to just prick and take out some blood. Here he says you have to malam ma'at ka'ain klipa. What are you mauling if you don't have this? You don't see anything. The way I understand Orla Kedusha, so what does he mean? You're mal ka'ain klipa.
But he's saying it's not enough to do Tavas Dam Bris?
Right, he says Tavas Dam Bris doesn't mean just taking out some blood. He says he's bringing the left. You have to malam ka'ain klipa, like removing.
So Tavas Dam Bris is only by a goy who's already mauled. That would be.
But if there's a question of Orla Kedusha, he says
because of a maul,
you have to actually do some kind of meal and cut something. But what are you cutting? What's kain klipa there? I don't know what the opposite there is, because Miri doesn't. So you do kain klipa without nothing there. He must have. He had a picture of what an Orla Kedusha was. And I remember Chazon Ish says she'or zura misapkaleim sarach lahasir orla zu. If they have to remove this orla. So what do you mean? How could they have a suffix if they remove this orla? We don't see this orla. How do you remove it?
Right.
So they must have. There must be some mitzias that they're calling an orla kedusha, but I don't know what it is. I know what he says. Shiur Rabbi Shmuel. Here's this. He says there's a sort of milchalik between Truma and Pesach. In other words, even if you hold according to the Rambam that he's not considered an oral, it's just that there's a mitzvah of tapas dan bris. So by Truma, the only psul you have is oral. An oral can't eat Truma, so he's not an oral. Even though there's a mitzvah tapas dan bris, but he's not an oral, so he could eat Truma. Well, it comes to Pesach, there's two dinim. There's a din that an oral can't eat Pesach, so we're saying here, according to the Rambam, he's not an oral. But there's also a din that you see, for example, if you don't maul your avadim or your children, you can't eat Korban Pesach. That's because there's a mitzvah of milah to maul them. Right. So the Achronim say it's no worse on your own self. You have the same din that if you don't maul yourself, besides the psul of orla, even if you're not an oral, you have this psul of this. The mitzvah of milah is ma'akev. So if you have an inyan of hatavas dan bris, that could be like the mitzvah of milah, even though it has nothing to do with orla. Right. So that could be passel you from Korban Pesach. But it's not so easy to understand. Even if the mitzvah of milah is ma'akev, who says hatavas dan bris is called the mitzvah of milah? They're comparing the inyan of hatavas dan bris to the mitzvah of milah. Who said? I mean, milah is there's a mitzvah to get rid of the orla. If you don't have an orla, there's mitzvah now, a new mitzvah of hatavas dan bris. But who says that's ma'akiv korban pesach. Where does it say that? Milas avodim and milas children are ma'akiv you, even though they're because you have the mitzvah of mauling them to get rid of their orla. So even though if you're honest, it's not ma'akiv in that case. But l'maisa, you have a mitzvah to maul them, and if you don't do your mitzvah, it's ma'akiv you. But they're stretching of that, even if there's not an orla in there, but there's a mitzvah, tabas nabris, could be B'Korban Pesach, that also will cancel.
What's going in the back of my mind is that thing about an oral, like a goy is never considered to be mahal, and
he's always considered an oral, right?
Yeah, right, and a Jew is always considered to be mahal, right? So the fact is that over here, it seems to me there's this physical reality of oral, but there seems to be something else. There seems to be this I want to say spiritual, or whatever, like something else, which is like that's what's going in the back of my mind. That there's I mean, that's why when you talk about an oral, it seems to be a physical thing. Do you have an oral or do you not have an oral? So that seems, but you see from that Gemara that oral also has this other dimension to it. That it's not just this reality of not just physical reality. It has something to do with
but the psul, the gabbing shumer and pesach is the physical
reality. But that might be what they're saying by mahul, in the sense that by Korban Pesach, I mean, this idea of the Korban Pesach might be that there's also this other definition of Mila, also tied to bris. I you know, like
where do you get there from?
I don't know. I'm just thinking that there's this other. I mean, you see this by. I know by the Gemara that talks about whether a woman can mal or not. So
there's one that says command the mal.
That's one. The other side is not a ben bris. So the fact is that it's like it's not defined by the command the mali dami is mostly defined by something physical. She doesn't have an oral, although but a ben bris is defined by the inyan that you're
in the bris. But it doesn't say Nisha's not a ben. Nisha is in the bris.
She's in the bris. How she? I mean, this whole thing's about was she married or whatever, or she's in the bris. But the fact is that but she's not. But the way the Gemara says is, if I remember correctly, it's like she was not brought into the bris by an act of bris milah.
I don't remember the particular.
I'm trying to remember by the Gemara over there. One time I remember.
The Gemara doesn't speak of there by the Isha not being a bris. The Gemara speaks about a
goy or whatever.
Givoni mole, like Kentura, Givoni mole, the goy that's mount. That even if he's considered mole, but he's not considered in the breast, I think. But by an Isha, they don't remember such a thing.
I know there's two sides. One is command mali dami, therefore she should be able to mal, and then the other argument that she can't mal. She can't mal.
She doesn't have the mitzvah.
She doesn't have the mitzvah. But it's not because she's not bread. Not because maybe I'm mixing up because it's in the same Gemara there.
Okay,
that's right. The Gemara does say that, because someone said, but someone told me this thing about Tzipporah, that they asked how Tzipporah can mal. And person said it's because she was from Midjan, and because she was from Midjan is from Keturah. So because she had a chiyuv from being from Keturah, that's why she could mal, because there's no chiluk by
But the Gemara doesn't say that. The Gemara says Sipora was from B'nai Keturah,
and that's why she was with them all. But that seems
that's not the Gemara. The Gemara says that how could that if Nisha is possible to mal, Gemara is a machlokas if Nisha is kosher to mal or not,
Yeah.
And the Gemara says, "Nishas pasuk tomorrow. What are you going to do by tzipora?"
Right.
And the Gemara says she didn't
finish it.
Someone else finished it. Then they have a
Yeah.
problem. Who's the someone?
Right.
Who's the
Right.
someone else who else was around to do it? That's a problem. But there's a Meretz that says if she's from B'nai Keturah, she does have the mitzvah of Mila. According to the Rambam, the B'nai Keturah have the mitzvah of Mila. But then there's no difference if a man or a woman. The Gemara doesn't say that.
But I'm just saying, according to this other Gemara though, would that would work even for a Yid? I mean, it's saying that before Matan Torah, the distinction between the Gemara, you said the Gemara asked the other question about what who is it? The Gemara asked a question of just by a regular goy being mal.
It's my focus with goy is kosher to do Mila.
Right.
But by a Jew before Matan Torah, he certainly has the mitzvah of Mila, and it was given to Abraham.
Right.
They were mitzvah and Mila.
And before Matan Torah, there would be no distinction between. I mean, according to Moritz Chait's argument, the mitzvah for B'nai Keturah would be exactly the same as the mitzvah for a Yid.
I don't think so. I think most people, I don't remember the Moritz Chait's, but I think they learned that even according to the Rambam, the B'nai Keturah have the mitzvah of Mila, but they're not B'nai Bris.
Yeah.
A Ben Bris is only a Jew, and a Ben Keturah is not part of the Bris. Even if he has the scenery of Mila, I think that's what they say. I don't know if that's what the Ritzchiyah says, but I think that's what they say.
That's what I guess that's what I was saying, because that, but the Moritz Chaitz will say could not hold that distinction if he's trying to give it. That's the reason.
You have to look at that. I don't remember.
Okay.
But here what he's saying is I think clearly that he's saying that even according to the Rambam, Hatavas Dabris has nothing to do with an Orla. He doesn't hold the reason for the Kedusha like this Mishkas Yaakov Chaim says. And still, therefore, when it comes to Truma, there's no problem. Because they're the only psulas if you're an oral, and he's not an oral.
Right.
But when it comes to Pesach, it could be besides the psul of Orla, anytime you have a chiyuv of Mila, that itself is ma'akiv. And the raya is, when you're not an oral, the mitzvah that you have to mal your children or your avadim is ma'akiv, right? Even though you're not an oral. But it's ma'akiv. So it could be in there, it's the mitzvah that's ma'akiv. They're in the rise because if you're an honest, it's not ma'akiv. So it's only because you have a tzivui.
Right.
So they're learning that could be a tavas dam bris on the so it comes out a person himself has two pturim, because he has the ptur of being an oral mamish. And he also has the ptur that he has a mitzvah. He can't do it because he has a psul, because he has the mitzvah. Malach, if you have the mitzvah to mal your children, that's ma'akiv. Certainly the mitzvah to mal yourself is ma'akiv. And they're saying that could be a tavas dam bris has the same level as a chiyuv mitzvah, nothing to do with orlas, and the chiyuv mitzvah. But you have to see how do they know that a tavas dam bris is similar, is the same degree as the mitzvah of Mila, because there could be the mitzvah of Mila is to get rid of the orlas. And could be a tavas dam bris. It's a mitzvah, but who says it has the same relative? It has the same.
And the lack of it.
It would possibly, because you didn't do that mitzvah, that it would possibly require a mitzvah.
So it could be just that you're not supposed to have anyone who's an oral. You could just say it's just an extension of the oral concept. Right.
But they're saying that. I think that's what. I think I remember that's what Rav Shmuel says, that it's the mitzvah tavas dam bris, which is not like most of them learn before. Truma and Truma Pesach will be the same rule.
Right.
Okay. The next. V'androgana simeno mohu. V'aramam dahavi sofik nekeva. So the chorat is a sofik ish sofik nekeva. Im kain eno loka. So if he would eat Pesach, he says sofik oral, and therefore you can't give him malchus. So according to the Rambam, and b'yesh sovrim dahavi valei zochor, and there's shittas and mitzvah el, mitzvah aleph, when we spoke about Purville, he brings these different shittas, what's an androgynous. He basically has shittas was that. So if he's a vadai zochor, he's saying l'chore, and then he's a vadai oral too. So in Cain, if he would eat Korban Pesach, it would be a din of an oral eating Korban Pesach, So if he's not come out, he would get, there's no reason he shouldn't get Malkus. He's a Vali Zocher and he's an oral, so he would get Malkus. Whereas according to the Rambam, you can't give him Malkus because of the fact that he's oral, because who says he's an oral? It could be, it's in the cave.
There's one sheet that holds that androgynous is
a period of Neatzma. Right, yeah.
So it's no. So you'd argue that he's not oral that way, also.
Yeah, l'chora.
Yeah.
L'chora, the din of oral is only by a zachar. If he's a period of Neatzma, l'chora,
it's interesting because over there he brings out the different sheets, but he doesn't
even mention that one.
He doesn't even mention that one. Yeah.
Because he probably only wants to bring down a sheet that there's loka. There was a scam of the normal sheet of Savigish, so there's no Malkus. But when he wants to shave, there's another case where you are loka.
Right, for
and
sure.
If you hold that, that's the Vali Zocher.
Right.
But if it's the Berry McNass, it's probably anal loka also, so
right.
you didn't have to, you've already dealt with such a sheet that they don't have anal loka, you're not suffix. Okay, but you're right, I don't know. He doesn't repeat all the sheets. Now he says, V'nei l'chora, Kiven d'chsiv kol oral lo yochal, v'fi ma shepaskinen k'Rabbi Aval d'kol makom d'chsiv lo yochal l'sochal. It means Isra Achila and Hana, Isra Hana l'mashma, im kain Asr b'Hana. So it says an oral can't eat a Korban Pesach. L'chora, the oral would be Asr to have Hana from Korban Pesach too. V'im kidesh b'chalko isha ibnei chabura, and if he would mekadosh an isha who's in the same chabur, that it's not Asr b'Hana to her, Tali, so he's learning it's Asr b'Hana to the oral, and it's not to the isha. So if you're, it's a whole big shaila. If you're mekadosh an isha with Asr b'Hana, that's for her it's mutter. Tali b'speikus ma mishlam el perek hem isha salach alaf im mikudeshes. Even the day Asr b'Hana, do you say since by him it's not? It's Asr b'Hana alav kedushin. So it's not like he's giving you anything. It's not a kedushin, right? Oh, okay. So what he's talking about, that he is his. So he is in the chabura, right? Because he's not in the chabura, that it's not his Korban Pesach b'chlal, right? So what does he mean, that the oral is in the chabura, just that he can't eat the Korban Pesach? But so how could he be in the chabura if he's in the oral? You're
right.
But you hear what's bothering you.
I totally. How does he get into the chabura? I mean, a person who's not, who can't. We say a person who can't eat the Korban Pesach can't be in the chabura?
Yeah, that's what I thought we said. That's not basing the
right.
Right. I'm going to look on. I just don't want to finish the paragraph.
Yeah. And
I'm going to look on the bottom, please say.
Yeah.
So therefore, he's saying the oral is also about to have an honor. He's a mekadosh and isha. She could have an honor. That he goes out if she happens to be part of the chabura, right? So he says that'll be totally in the Mishnah Malach's shaila. L'shitas hatosos the kachim kalim chelek habaylim habi mamun baylim huvel el achkan hu aser. He says even though it's kachim kalim and you're considered the baylim, achkan hu aser v'anah. But he says here, even according to the Tosfos, you wouldn't be considered. Is a problem that it's aser v'anah because you're an arrow. He says, according to this, because the Gemara ends up, what's the case where there's a nafkamina? The maksha hashash on is minor benai, because Gemara says most cases which seem to be there's Isra and the other man agrees we learn out of psukim is Isra and in most cases where it seems to be mutter b'ana, the Gemara says that he has psukim that it is mutter b'ana. So Gemara says, practically speaking, what's the difference in halachas? He says, according to this, the Gemara could have said, this case by an oral with Korban Pesach, handle el b'mitzvah kodemis mashka safti bo'zeh. So what does he say? That maybe because first I want to look on the bottom over here. says over here to look at they don't speak about our problem. Over here, let's just look at mitzvah Yud Gimel Ustavav.
Right.
Here also says he talks about a Ben Nachor being part of the Chabur and it does everybody not to him. He gives the case by Ben Nachor. He says, Im Nimna ala Pesach, at the time of the Minu he wasn't the Mumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But afterwards he became a Mumer, right? So then he was, so he is in the Minui, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be a case of a Ben Nachor, right? But how would you have a case of an oral that he was in the Minui?
Right.
We're talking about a gadol, a kedushin. So how could it be that he was an oral? He's in the minui. So that was it. So Yud Gimel. It says also look at Yud Gimel.
Yeah, it's talking about being Machal Goy.
Yud Daled Oz Daled?
Oz Daled or Oz Beis?
In mine it says, well, I have maybe different things.
I have mitzvah, look at Yud Daled Oz Beis.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It's Daled, yeah.
It doesn't speak about there how he was in the menu either.
No.
Unless there's some kind of case that you weren't in Earl at the time of the meaning when you became an Earl later, I don't know, that would be possible.
Even in the case of Moshe, he says that's only Drabanan, right?
Right.
Yeah. And he actually holds that Moshe says you do the Pesach anyways.
Right.
So he wouldn't be he Moshe would be in the Minui anyways. In the case of Moshe, would you extend the Drabanan to Yisra Hanan? In other words, in other words, Malcolm Curris, he's going to be in the Korban Pesach. So he has to bring the Korban Pesach, and then he has to eat it. Okay, even though he's not eating it, it's no longer Yisra Curris, but the fact is you're going to exempt. But maybe you could say that the fact that there's a Drabanan on Moshe means you might think it's still in Yisra Hana. You know, it sounds kind of strange. Yeah, you're right. I'm just trying to. What? No. I'm just trying to, because and he saw this problem beforehand because when he brought down the case of Mummer, he says he has to work out a case
that he was in the Minui.
Right. And here he doesn't even deal with it. No, it's not.
He must have been that he's in the meaning. I'm just trying to figure out how, because he said when he speaks of the question, he says Kidesh B'Chelko.
He must be in the meaning, but how's he part of the meaning? And in fact, he sees the problem already by Mumar. I mean,
so there must be a case that an Earl could be in the meaning. Maybe he holds an Earl could be in the meaning because you can't be in the meaning if you're not royal. You're not royal achila. But could be since he could mal himself. Maybe it's right after the meaning he could mal himself, right?
Right.
And there's the holding of Earl lo yochobo, right? So maybe he holds such a person. It could be in the meaning because he says, I'll be in the meaning and I'll mal.
So one second. So in that idea, if the oral's part of the minui, does that mean he's part of the hakrav?
That means he's but
is the isser only that he can't eat it, but he can be makriv it? Although the thing he's saying over here beforehand, when he brought down the issue of Moshe, it seems to be that if you're concerned about Koretz is a hakrava.
Right.
So
I think you can't be makriv. I thought you can't be makriv if you're not able to, if you're not able to eat it. You can't be makriv. But I'm just trying to say, but maybe the minui time. Maybe you could be in the minui because right after the minui you could do mila. You could do the mila. So even before the hakrava, you could even be roy for hakrava and Korban Pesach. So maybe you could own a chelik. You could be in the minui, and therefore you could own a chelik, and accept your asur if it's asur b'han. Also, when you get a chelik, mamanis, it's yours because you were in the minui, and then he said, "But it's asur." No, and it's clear in Kadisha. Just to me, I always thought that an oral can't be in the minui, but lately we like to try to look at maybe it's a star that he could be in the.
And that minui would stand. He'd be part of the minui, even if he stays in oral. So even though he can't eat it, he wouldn't be part of the hakrava.
Right.
So he wouldn't have part of the mitzvah of hakrava's Pesach.
Right.
Even though he's part of the minui.
It's hard to hear that. It's hard to hear, but maybe it's possible.
It's hard to hear that
he'd still be in the minui. No, he can't be part of the hakrava, and I can't. But it's not impossible.
I mean, from what he said about Moshe, it seemed to be that that'd be a problem with him being not just eating it, be part of him being part of the hakrava.
Yeah, because you can't be makriv for someone who can't
eat it.
He can't eat. And I'm talking about not the hakrava. I'm talking about
the minui.
Could be he's in the minui because at that time he wasn't considered necessarily not going to be part of the hakrava. But it's not. I mean, I agree that it's not such a thing. It should have spoken out if there's such a thing. It's not really like that.
Yeah, at least it's a halach.
It's a possibility. So we have something to look up to see.